Good morning and welcome to Truth to Power. And I'm your host, Darwin Griffin. And this is the day that we've got the fellas in the house. So we've got two young men in the studio with us that are no stranger to anybody in the Detroit area. And they compliment each other, and I say compliment not with an I, but with an E. So they're two people that have been doing the work, they know the work, and they're about the work. And my special guest today on Truth to Power are, he chuckles when I say the OG, so I'm not going to say the OG, but I just wanted to put a smile on his face this early because he got a busy day today. So I wanted to put that smile on his face, and that's probably when you say the words OG, you probably think of none other than Mr. Keith Bennett. And then when you say one of the hardest working men in the city of Detroit, he's got several initiatives that he's doing, and he'll talk about one of those today. But he's one of those type of people that gives back to the community, and the community gives back to him in love and kindness, and that's Mr. Ishmael Terry. Today, I'm just, kind of a little bit looking at a lot of things that's going on. This is kind of the end of the Michigan Democratic Convention, and I'm sorry I said Michigan, but this is the Democratic Convention that's ending, and everybody from Michigan to all of the other 49 states that were there in Chicago, and they were convening there to get an opportunity to rally around the presidential candidate, and that is Kamala Harris. So, just to kind of give people a little education in terms of say on how to say her name, but it's Kamala Harris. So I think everybody's probably got that little bit of a English lesson to know how to say her name, because as everybody that was there convening in Chicago said, hey, this is going to be historic. Not so much historic, but this is going to be her story. And she will make history by being the 47th president of the United States of America, and where her story, or history, as somebody may say it, is that she will be the first African American president that is of the female gender. And that's historic. I mean, we've already had people that said they didn't know if they were going to be able to live through seeing a black man elected. Now here they're going to live through the possibility of seeing a black female elected as our commander-in-chief of these great states in America. But a lot of people that were there, it looked like the rallying cry was there. I looked at parts of the convention last night, and it seems like there's a lot of people that are really, really gearing up for the election. And for those few that may not know, the election is going to be held November the 5th of this year. So some people have an opportunity to go and vote absentee. Others may do the early voting, which is 9 days before the election. And then some people will have the opportunity to go into the polls and vote in person on November the 5th. But whatever your persuasion, the main thing we want you to do is to exercise your voice, engage your power, and vote. There's a lot of people right now that are trying to persuade people not to vote. They're spending a lot of money trying to get people not to vote. So people need to realize, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand, people are putting a lot of energy, a lot of effort, and a lot of money into trying to get people not to vote. So again, as my guest will attest to too, it's important that you exercise your voice, your power, and you get out and vote. The convention really rallied a lot of people around unity. And that was the undergoing conversation that people were having. They were seeing unity in the Democratic Party. There was a little bit of discord prior to Kamala Harris being asked by President Joe Biden to take the mantle and run this campaign. But what happened was that there were people that were concerned about whether or not if he was too old, whether or not if he wasn't able to go and lead the country for another 4 years. And there was concern about whether or not if they should look at trying to find somebody else, be it another governor from a state of California, the governor from here in Michigan, or other, senators and other people. But heads convened, they got together, the wise people said, hey, we can't overlook our current Vice President, Kamala Harris. And they had conversations, and they decided she was the best person that could lead the country for the next 4 or 8 years. And now, as a result of those conversations that were had, current Vice President Kamala Harris is the Democratic presidential candidate for the upcoming election cycle. And everybody seems pleased as punch to go and have her to lead this country along with the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz. So there was a lot of information that was being given out to Kamala Harris to make a real empirical decision about who she wanted to have as her running mate. And she decided between all of the people that Eric Holder had vetted, and his team for her. And I think it was kind of narrowed down, but she decided on Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. And those of you that may not know who he is, research him. I think there was a lot of conversation and a lot of poignancy when watching the Democratic convention as to Tim Walz's son. And a lot of people had a lot of conversation, until he touched the hearts when they saw him on stage with his mom and his dad. So research Tim Walz if you really don't know much about him. But one of the things that I really liked about Tim Walz was that Tim Walz named a road, highway in Minnesota after Prince. So, and not only did he get this bill signed to have this highway named after Prince, but he also signed the bill into law that he did it in purple ink as well. So the Purple Prince is having a street named after him, and we really appreciate what Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, did. But today we've got two people on the show that have a lot of say-so when it comes down to not just the political landscape, also the landscape when it comes down to sports. And I'm going to let Mr. Ishmael Terry speak about an initiative that he has going on that in his philanthropic heart that he has, that he's allowing people to go and get a chance to see and I know Keith and I have talked about this, and I know Ishmael and I, have talked about this before, our Detroit Lions, and as Keith and I talked about yesterday, Sports Illustrated is putting them on the cover to say that they think that the Lions are Super Bowl bound, but it sounds like, Keith, they're looking at possibly saying the prediction that the Lions will win the Super Bowl. And what Keith and I were talking about, sometimes there's a curse when people make these kind of predictions. Mm-hmm. So, Keith, I'll address that in a minute. I'm going to let Ishmael talk about his initiative that he's doing through his organization and allowing people to get a chance to see the last preseason game of the Detroit Lions, that they are in the football field, sharing the football field with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ishmael Terry.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me here today. Well, I am the CEO of All for One, which is a nonprofit 501c3 charitable organization here in the state of Michigan, as well as we now expanded to Chicago, Illinois. So we worked out a deal with the Detroit Lions to be able to provide students that's inside of our Adopt a School network an opportunity to go to the game. But we also expanded it to community leaders and just supporters from around the state to attend a game that is, sometimes pricey for people who live in more black communities. Let's just say it is. And so because of that, we get numerous amount of tickets to go to the game, and we send people for free to the game.
How many years have you been doing this?
Probably about 12.
12 years?
12, 13 years. I just don't talk about it as much. A lot of people see me just a political guy, but
no,
most
people don't know you.
Yeah, they really don't.
As the same with you, Keith.
Right.
They don't know some of the things you do behind the scenes
and
so,
for about 12 to 14 years, we've been working with the Lions, the Pistons, and the Tigers. And so with our Adopt a School program, which we just launched 5 years ago, we have at least 10 schools here in Michigan, and we have one school in Chicago. And so we bring resources and things of that nature to those schools, right? So just last year, we put 100 computers inside New Paradigm Glazer Academy. Used to just be Glazer Elementary School over by Focus Hope and the Hostess Factory, right?
Right there off of Oakland.
You got
Everybody
it.
know what a host.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. So we put 100 computers with the help of Comerica Bank. And so we do those things inside of the school. And so I wanted to make sure that the opportunity to give young people to see their favorite players, or sometimes they want to see their opposite player, teams that they want to see. So we give them that chance to do just that. We know that ticket prices are about darn near $285 and more.
Yes.
Right? So
When we knew a time when
it was only $2.
Giving tickets
you can't
away,
even get a
right,
ticket.
right.
They were like, please take them, please
Right,
take them.
right.
Right? Paper bags on the head, 0-16,
Yeah.
just a couple years back. So the challenge is always, one, is it trustworthy, right? Because people, you send information out via email, social media wise, and people be like, well, is this trustworthy? Can I believe that Ishmael is giving out these tickets? So what we do is we make sure that we send photos, right? You'll see photos of people going like our symbol, right? You'll see the forum. And some people will send there too, because we be like, if we reached out to you to give you those tickets for free and you still skeptical, well, then I'm not giving you any tickets the next time I see you. But we do have a 3-strike rule where we give you tickets and you don't show up for those 3 times, we don't ask you to come to the game.
You mean people request tickets and don't show up?
You got it. That's the most craziest thing in the world. Now, when we were with the Pistons, when they was in Arbor Hills, I can understand that. Arbor Hills got a tag on them that they police department, the county out there, county sheriffs out there, stop the residents who they read the plate and say is Detroit, right? So a lot of Detroiters don't like to go out there. But when they moved to Woodward, we thought that, hey, everybody's going to enjoy this. Pistons are at home. You get to go to a free game. All you got to do is pay for your parking and your food.
And in some cases, Ishmael, people just caught the queue line.
Yeah, right.
And just
Or
rode
find
the
a free
queue line.
parking spot on Cass.
On Cass or Bush,
Yeah.
or go to those areas and park free. And still, we have to cover 51% of our tickets that we give to everyone. So that means if they get on me, I'm going to get on you. That means I'm going to stop giving y'all tickets, the people in the community, I'm going to stop giving y'all the tickets, and I'm going to give it to our corporate sponsors. And I'm going to give it to our schools only, right? And so that makes people feel alienated. That people will be like, well, Ishmael is falling in line with the same old. So I'm like, well, I'm giving you all of these chances to go for free. Like the word free, that means there is no money attached to this. You're just going to have a good time. You might not be able to go to that game. because you might not have to count those nickels and dimes and say I got to pay my light bill, my gas bill, my cable bill, something, right? But if here is someone that's in your community that's giving it to you for free, it's kind of shot to my gut anyway, because I'm like, well, if I'm going to give it to you for free and you don't go, well, then that means you don't respect me. You don't respect our company. You don't respect our time. You don't respect our patience. And you don't respect yourself, because if somebody is respecting you enough to say, here's something for free, no strings attached, just go, have a good time, and you decided, well, I'm going to take the tickets, but I'm not going to go.
Well, see, and that's the thing,
crazy.
because it's like I know some of the people that have gone, and taken advantage of that in the past.
Yeah.
Even the baseball games
Right.
that you have. So
Yes.
we're not just talking about football and basketball. We're also talking about baseball.
Correct.
That you've given people opportunities, and especially, as Keith can probably attest to, we've got a lot of sports aficionados, in and around Detroit that love football, baseball, and basketball.
Correct.
And like Keith coached basketball,
remember.
and Ishmael, you played basketball.
Yeah, I
I
remember.
played basketball.
You think
so I
you
mean,
played
that's
basketball?
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that
I
might
was
be
good.
another. That might be
I
another.
was good.
Okay.
I was good.
Okay.
I wasn't
That
like
may be another conversation
I had my
we might have.
others.
I think his daughter is the real bad.
Oh, shots fired.
And
Well, my daughter, I will say this as he brought her up. I am proud. She's going to Brazil, so she's going to play. She's going to play overseas in Brazil. She's going to do. I think she told me 2 or 3 years there, and then she's going to go to the WNBA.
Okay.
After that, so
well, give a shout out to what's her name?
Janae Terry.
Danae Terry.
Yeah, you can't miss her because she looked like me, play like me. Only thing
She looks
different,
like him.
she can't dunk like I used to back in her day. Like when I was her age, I could dunk. Now she treats me like the old busted knee old man that I am, and I'm so proud of her. But I'm also proud of my son. He's an intern.
Okay.
Well, he has a job, not an intern anymore. He has a job now with Google.
Okay.
So he's doing ads and advertisement and management and things of that nature.
Okay.
So I got one that's a tech, and then I got a basketball player.
Great.
So
Great.
I'm kind of
And I
good.
guess people will be still trying to keep in touch with Ishmael Terry once his daughter gets into the WNBA,
I hope you don't.
especially with the league, the WNBA getting so prominent now.
Oh yeah, but I'm act like I don't know you. Then I'm gonna be like, what?
Hopefully they have a team in here. Maybe by the time she's ready to come.
Come
back.
on, that's what I'm hoping for, the Fever to come back.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean the newer the Detroit team,
Yes.
Shock, comes back and she can come here and come home. But that would be nice. But whatever she wants to do in basketball, she is. I'm very proud of both of them. I think that she broke the Purdue assist record
Okay.
at the university, and so she's an average 12,
Okay.
14 points
Okay.
a game
Okay.
player. So she still has some. She got to get her emotions under control a little bit.
Copied that off.
I know. But
Well,
Lord,
let's
the
do this.
difference is I threw punches when
Well,
I
I'm
was
I'm
playing in the
gonna
80s.
bail you out, Ishmael. So let's talk about the WNBA then. We can just touch
Okay.
upon that real quick.
All right.
Key, thank you, to you for coming on the show as well today. I know you got a busy schedule today, so I definitely want to get your input. What do you think in terms of say about the way that the WNBA is really kind of just spouted wings and they've just taken off? Because I mean, everybody is talking about Angel Reese, talking about Caitlin Clark, and Asia Wilson. I mean, just all these players are really, and they're selling out stadiums.
Yeah.
That's the
I'm
key
from
thing, and like
Atlanta,
you
Boston.
just said,
That's my favorite player.
and
Brittany
right.
Griner,
Yeah.
she's back.
And and the thing is that here, you just mentioned it, Keith, that do we want to investigate or talk more about getting the Shock, back, which was our WNBA team back when Swin Cash and others were involved with
2-time champions.
two-time champions, right? And we got to remember too, who coached them?
Bill Lambie.
Bill Lambier.
And his assistant coach.
Yeah.
And then
Rick
also
Mahorn.
Rick Mahorn is assistant coach. But so what do you think, Keith? Do you think that that's something that the Detroit? Because now, explain to me, gentlemen. So now they would be under the same mantle of the Detroit Pistons.
I don't know how that all stopped. Was it a licensing fee that they maintained with the WNBA? Because back then, William Davidson owned the Pistons, and so he was, I think, the owner of the shop too. So I don't know how all that went. I do know Detroit would be looked on highly favorable because they were one of the pioneers, and when it really wasn't as large as it is now. I look at the WNBA and myself as doing a 3-4-60 because as a former high school and college coach, and I hate to, I would never have said it back then, the women's game was boring to me. You know, now they had some select, especially in Detroit Public School League and around the city and other places, Highland Park and some of the other suburbs. They had some good players back in the day, but they were firing in between. And so the game was boring to me. And I just caught on to the WNBA really about 3 or 4 seasons ago because my cousin, who's an avid basketball fan, and he loved to watch the women. And then when I tuned in, I just gravitated to it. And so I've become I enjoy their games at times better than I enjoy NBA games.
Well,
Because I
there's
see
a lot of
the
people
full game.
that agree with you
Yes.
because how they've made the women's games, the championship games, after the men's championship games. You know, just like with the Olympics. Everybody was looking to see what the women were going to do. They saw the men win, but they were really anticipating. And the women had a good game. I mean, it was very, very entertaining.
Well, as a basketball purist, and that's what I call myself, I believe in the inside-outside game. I believe in the fundamentals of the game. I believe if you're going to play offense, you need to play defense. I believe in the team concept, and they do all of those. And the NBA game has gotten away from that.
Yeah, they're more offensive. Than
And they're more three-point
Yeah.
prone. They took the point guard out of the game in the NBA, and the WNBA still has it within their game plan and set offense as a point guard. So it would do well in this market because, unfortunately, when they fired our last Piston coach, I was pitching that they go after Don Staley. And I was putting that out on social media, and I was getting beat up about that. I said, look, man, in Detroit would accept and embrace Don Staley as a basketball coach. It'll be different. It's a change. But, man, I love the NBA game, the WNBA game. I love it.
And for some people that don't know, Keith is saying Dawn Staley, D-A-W-N.
Yes.
So for those that aren't the purists like you and Ishmael are, that she is currently the coach of the women's basketball team.
Championship.
Yeah, championship.
Championship team in South Carolina.
Yeah,
And-
between
and-
her and Connecticut.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's
yeah. He's a beast.
Yeah, he is.
He is the top talent.
Yeah.
But I would say this is what we call positionless basketball today.
Yes.
Which don't make any sense to me at all, right? You have such this drastic change because now it's more of a marketing and branding. You got to still remember the NFL is popular, the NBA is commercial. So because the NBA is trying to become popular to match up with the NFL, they have to change the way the game is played, right? So now they see that international is their way to out-popular the NFL.
And you know, and you're right. And let's hold that thought, Ishmael. We're gonna come right back to it. We're gonna take a quick break.
Gotcha.
And then when we come back, we will have none other than Ishmael Terry. That's the voice that you will hear is Ishmael Terry. Thank you again. You're watching Truth to Power, and we'll be right back.
Your radio is now on TV. Your TV is now on radio. WHPR 88.1 FM can now be heard and seen worldwide. The same platform that hosts all of your favorite content now has WHPR TV and radio. Have your own radio or TV show on Roku with approximately 8 million homes. debut your music video, clothing line, church ministry, plays, or products. A limited number of slots are available, so act now. For more information, visit RokuDetroit.com or call 313-868-6612. You heard about it. Now come be a part of it. Roku Detroit Worldwide. Approximately 8 million viewers. TV 33 is moving to WHPS TV channel 15.2. Make sure to rescan the channels on your TV. Then go to WHPS channel 15.2 to pick up TV 33 and all of your favorite shows. The move is on, and we want you to move with us to WHPS channel 15.2.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Welcome to WHPR 88.1 FM and TV 33 studios. Inside, you'll find our warm and comfortable guest lobby. For our corporate radio and television meetings, this is our executive boardroom. And for our radio shows, here's our newly renovated radio station, WHPR 88.1 FM. Broadcasting from Detroit, Highland Park, Michigan, where we welcome you to have your own radio show. Just call us at 313-868-6612. Block time is available. We're a versatile station, streaming on the World Wide Web from our radio station at www.fm881whpr.com. Walk with me down the hall to Studio B, where we broadcast live and tape our talk shows on UHF TV 33. Here's our main control room for TV 33. We also have a fully operational kitchen for luncheons and meetings. This is our brand new Virgin Islands studio, boasting live audio and video capabilities. Broadcasting live in the Virgin Islands over WVIE and streaming over the internet at RadioWeCanSee.com. We can be seen and heard around the globe. This is our Virgin Islands studio waiting room and lounge. Stop by our gift shop to pick up your WHPR souvenirs. Our viewing room provides a comfortable space for viewing and production meetings. Our brand new remote truck allows us to produce cost-effective live productions from anywhere in the city. Adjacent to our Virgin Islands studio is our concert hall and meeting facilities. Also on site is our 199-foot broadcast tower. Let's talk about our movie studio, Studio A, the home of Studio 33. It's designed for video shoots, photography sessions, plays, receptions, rehearsals, and concerts. The facilities boast a 35-foot ceiling, a 15-foot garage door, and Studio A is 4,000 square feet in size, with 2 endless sight walls, 3 portable screens including a green screen. Located at 166 Victor Street in Highland Park, we have gated and well-lit private parking also on the premises. For anyone interested in any of our many amenities, give us a call at 313-868-6612. That's 313-868-6612. Or email us at rjwatkinstv33@live.com. Henry Tyler, Vice President, RJ Watkins, CEO.
Recover Now is a national campaign aimed at the education and awareness of the devastating effects of opioid and heroin abuse and curbing drug and alcohol addiction in the United States. Recover Now is sponsored by treatment facilities nationwide. Many of them have been where you are, and they want to help by spreading a message of hope and recovery. They're working hand in hand with major insurance companies nationwide that can help you or a loved one get clean in 7 to 30 days. Recover Now is embarking on a national outreach campaign on TV and radio to promote anti-addiction messages. So if you, a loved one, or someone you know has a problem with drugs or alcohol, do not wait. A new life for you could be 30 days away. Call us right now. I promise this call can change your life. Sponsored by the Detox and Treatment Helpline.
Call 855-723-6903.
Justice for Mario Willis. Truth. Facts. Evidence. Mattered. Log into justiceformariowillis.com. Read for yourself.
You ready to put your podcast on iHeartRadio? What about Alexa, Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, Android, or iPhone? Plus live TV streaming. Get your podcast seen and heard all over the world. Call 313-868-6612. Pre-recorded shows are accepted to be archived. This is a WHPR distribution platform. Download the app from the App Store. Go to WHPRTV.com. Channels available for lease 24/7 on Roku, Fire Stick, or Apple TV.
And we are back, and you are watching Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we are in Highland Park, Michigan, under the auspices of the Honorable Mayor Glenda McDonald, and you can also see and hear us in the phenomenal city of Detroit, Michigan, under the auspices of the Honorable Mayor Mike Duggan. But before we went to break, Ishmael, you were making a point. I'll let you finish the point that you were making real quick.
Yes, we were having this great conversation.
Yeah, it was the show between. It was the show between the show.
So
I'm seeing y'all doing fist bumps and all that.
Yeah, we see each other.
Okay, well, I guess that's the reason why we wanted the two of y'all to be on the show today.
It's a family thing right here.
Yeah.
So, so the basketball has changed a lot from, let's just say, the '84, from Michael Jordan in them era that was brought in, right, until probably 97, because 97 was the end of Chris Webber in Washington.
And to be honest, it changed when LeBron came in. Because you still had a point guard when Chauncey Billups played.
Yeah, and Eric Snow and all of those guys were still playing. Right. So I say by 97, when Michael Jordan was finally leaving Chicago and going to Washington. Yeah. So that's when you start seeing the positionless players start coming in, right? So that, what I mean by positionless player, those don't know what that means. That means you're a hybrid. That means you're not a point guard, you're not a small forward, you're not a power forward, you're not even a center or a two guard, right? You're just a all basketball player, right? So you're the LeBron James. And why you see so many people against LeBron is because LeBron is Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson roll into one guy.
Scottie Pippen.
And I'll give you a Scottie Pippen too. And Tracy McGrady is in that boat, right? So they were trying to figure out how do they leapfrog LeBron James over Kobe Bryant, because Kobe Bryant was a mirror of Michael Jordan. He moved like Michael Jordan, he shoot like Michael Jordan, he talk and walk like Michael Jordan. But LeBron, they just never haven't seen someone like that, right? Somebody that's 260, 265, somewhere in there, and he's 6'9", 6'11", and
6'9".
moves like a deer, right? And can do everything. So he's a hybrid Magic Johnson. But the NBA was expanding to go international, so they had to get a player like they did with Michael Jordan to brand off to build the NBA. They needed to do that same for the international, right, to get those kids from Jamaica.
Let me ask a question.
Sure.
Did they do that intentionally, or LeBron forced it on them?
I think LeBron forced it on them. I think because
That's what the negative.
it was because Steph and them could never beat LeBron without another hybrid. So that's how they got Kevin Durant. That's why they went to the Hamptons and went to plead with Kevin Durant and said, hey, look, we can't beat this guy. We just lost. We were just 73-9. We just beat the Bulls.
And you can't beat us.
And now you can't beat us, right? So they was like, we might as well just transform together, Voltron this thing, and beat the king, because he just beat us and we were up on them 3-1. Imagine this. You was 3-1 on the second best player in the league. You beat them 3-1, and you wiped the floor with them. Then you turned around and played in the finals, and you was up 3-1, and you lost to a single player.
Well,
So
Kyrie was in that.
Yeah, he was, but he had one big shot.
Yeah.
But the player that kept it all together was LeBron James. Let's call a spade what it is.
The trump card was that Draymond got kicked out.
Oh yeah,
And that
well, we
changed
know.
the
Yeah,
game.
that played the momentum a different way,
Yeah.
right? But it still was going to happen. I think the momentum was switching once they realized that, right? So then they said to Kevin Durant, "You hate LeBron James because they keep putting LeBron over you, and you want to be the guy. So come over here on our team. We're not going to stand in your way. This will be your show versus LeBron. We'll just be an addition." Their addition was better than LeBron's addition. Okay, Kyrie and him was just now getting into the feud because Kyrie was told you should be the man and you shouldn't be Robin to his Batman. You want to be the man. So he said, I'm going to lead to Boston. And that's how all of this played out. But basketball, the way it used to be played in the 80s when we were playing at St. Cecilia's, at University of Detroit Mercy, I can vividly remember as a small kid watching my step uncle, Terry Tyler, and all of them doing their thing, and just learning that basketball was structured like this. Antoine Drobert and all of those guys used to, because I'm the younger generation after Steve Smith and Derek Coleman, right? So I grew up under them with the British Knights and all that crazy stuff, right? Me and Jalen and all of us knew that basketball played like this, fundamentally sound, could carry us anywhere we wanted to go.
One of the reasons was you guys listened to your coaches.
We did.
And your coaches preached fundamentals and position basketball, but
Correct.
they preached team ball.
Correct.
I think the AAU coaches and some of the younger coaches coming in behind those coaches you had
Right.
didn't stress that.
No, but why would we listen to them? They about our age. They about doing the same thing we doing. They hanging out in the same places we hanging out. But we ain't about to disrespect you or
Right.
Perry Watson.
Right.
You know, we're not about to disrespect Reynolds.
Right.
You know, we had a particular groups of coaches, basketball and football, and any other sport that we played in those days in high school that we just was afraid of.
I remember sitting there talking to, and I knew every PSL coach and
Right.
most coaches in the state, and I remember sitting there talking to players as they were arguing about their coach versus another coach. So Jim Boyce, Diamond Jim, who was over at Northwestern at one time,
Yes,
University
sir.
of Michigan, University of Detroit,
Yes, sir.
he had this philosophy: you had to pass the ball a certain amount of times before you could take a shot.
Yes, sir.
And so players would be wanting to transfer out of his programs to go somewhere where they didn't have to pass it
Man.
as much. I mean, that's the kind of discipline that was going on.
Well, we had Jackson over there.
Yeah, Lenoir.
Yeah. And he carried a gun.
Yeah.
He carried a little 2.5. Seriously, he like carried a little 2.5 on him, and he'd be like, "Man, if you don't do what I tell you to do, man, I'm gonna shoot you." And you'd be looking like, "Man, first of all, I'm not getting shot by no little dude. Like this is crazy. If this little dude is talking about packing." But I'm gonna tell you, out of Northwestern High School, and I'm just being real with you on this, I learned how to be not just an athlete, but I learned to be a scholar. I learned to sew. I learned how to cook.
Yep.
I learned how to clean. I learned how to write music because Mr. Rogers and Mr. Owens and all of them. You didn't want to miss those days in the 80s and the 90s, early 90s, because you felt like you was missing something.
Because I came up in the 70s.
Right. He had the afro. His afro was bigger than mine.
Yeah.
So, but I will tell you this, even outside of the school, we had individuals that we looked up to. And we knew that we can be somebody because we had those individuals. We could say, those are not just our mentors, those are our fathers.
So
So
back
we
in
did
the
that.
day, in those days, Darwin, you can attest to this, when a man didn't have to be your daddy, when he put his hand on your shoulder, he would
Man.
address you as, "Son,
Yep.
I'm talking to you."
Yep.
That commanded, I don't have to be your daddy. You are the image of my son.
Right.
And so you gave them that kind of respect. And so we're not seeing that in athletics and sports, but we're seeing it in the WNBA. I've
Yeah.
noticed that those women are very coachable still.
Yeah.
And they still got their brands. As you said, AJ Wilson got her own brand.
Yeah.
And all those.
And then they're talking to their players like our coaches used to talk to us back
Yeah.
in those days.
Right.
You're accountable
Yes.
to make sure you know the plays.
Yes.
You're accountable to be able to read offenses and defenses. You're accountable to know how to run a team, right? So these cats today in the NBA, I can be honest with you, 87% of them don't know how to read a play. They don't even look at the playbooks anymore.
Because
They
you
don't
watch
do
them
it.
doing timeouts.
That's
They're
it.
looking in the stands.
That's it.
Even as great as Michael Jordan was,
Yes, sir.
as much control as he had over the Bulls franchise or the team, maybe not the franchise, but the team,
Right.
he ran field stuff.
Yeah.
He ran that triangle offense. He knew he could get out of it and break off of it, but he ran. That's why you had people like BJ and Kerr and all the rest of them played vital roles, because he ran
Right.
the plays. And
Right.
now you have players that are great, but they won't run. They're so conscious of their brand that they won't run.
Yeah, they forgot all about basketball. They now more corporate
Yeah.
than they are basketball.
Yeah.
Because listen, there is no more shoe deals. After LeBron James got that $100 million shoe deal from Nike, you don't see any more shoe deals going on. You don't hear that. That ain't even in your contract anymore. So, what are you really playing for, right?
You know, it's so interesting now, gentlemen, that we see like the All-Star games. And there's a lot of people that are really trying to figure out how they can revolutionize the
Right.
All-Star game to make it more, number one, competitive,
Right.
and number two, more entertaining, because as you both were saying, it's more offensive minded as opposed to defensive minded. And that's one of the things that a lot of people say when you look at the All-Star game, where's the defense at?
Right.
See, I believe if a game is competitive, it's also entertainment.
That's why I say entertainment, right?
And now they believe that it is competitive, it's not entertaining. They'd rather be entertained
Change than being
first.
competitive.
But a hard-fought competitive game is entertaining.
So the days of 87 to probably about 97 points ending the game is over. That is done. Y'all can erase that. And no one is going to, you can score 87 by yourself, right? Because most of the players, when you talk to them, I'm talking to, 4 or 5 Pistons players? And they like, man, I just come in when I come in, right? I do what I want to do, basically, because they're the first round picks. So they like, well, why would I have to listen to a boy that came out of Phoenix? He don't know what he talking about anyway, because if you sit down and talk with him, your best coach was Caldwell, the black dude, the coach that just left before they hired the Phoenix. He was better than him, right? But because he was too structurally sound, and because what he pulled out of Toronto, he was trying to pour into Detroit. I know I'm probably going to get chewed out by Chris on this, but they wasn't listening to him. They basically was telling the players, don't listen to him. You listen to me, and you listen to all of these other people. That killed the Pistons.
So let me ask you both the question. So now we've got off the WNBA. So let's look in terms, say, with the Pistons. What do the Pistons need right now?
A lot.
Yeah, man. They need.
When you say a lot,
they
Keith,
need-
what
they
First
need
of all,
a
you got to
wholesale.
need an identity.
Yeah, they need to figure out who is the guy
Yeah.
on that team.
Right.
They don't. And I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna get chewed out by
No,
Chris
you won't.
again. I'm gonna get chewed out by Chris and them for saying this, right? And Eric and the rest of those guys in their up seats. Cunningham is not the ticket.
Well, it's I've said that.
He not the ticket.
Dave Bing has said that he is not a franchise
Last player you could build around. They getting rid of four. They got rid of 4 or 5 players. They told me they were gonna do this, right? I said, so you gonna get rid of Cunningham? It was like, no. They said they're gonna build around. I said, why would you do that? They was like, well, he had a good time. He had a good season in the Olympics and all of that. I was like, man, come on, bro. Have you seen this guy really play? And they was like, yeah, he can really play.
Well,
I said,
Ismail, he can play, but he's not the player they're trying to make. He's not.
he not LeBron.
And I've studied him. I mean, I've dissected him.
Right.
And he's not. Number one, he's not a point guard,
No,
and he can't play point forward
no.
because he doesn't think quick enough. So I can almost predict his passes. So I know the players on the floor can predict it, but they need an identity as a team of how are they going to represent the Detroit Pistons franchise? What's going to be their cornerstone?
They try to make him into like a Grant Hill.
Yeah. Then
That's what they see him like.
they got to find out the player that's going to be able, or 2 players that's going to be able to carry their team. Because you got to have a 1-2 punch at least, or you're not going.
That Brandon Ivy kid,
Mm-hmm.
that Brandon Ivy kid, and that other little nice kid boy with the fro. I can't remember his name right now. His name escaped me. But he plays just as well.
See, I like Jason Sasson.
He okay.
He,
He okay.
I tell you what to do. Watch him and think about Joe Dumars when he first got in the league. They're both
Okay.
a lot alike. He may not never be your lead guard, but he's so
Right.
complimentary, can do everything, and the teams can't fall asleep on him.
That's true.
Yeah, so that's the position.
Because Duran is okay
Yeah.
as a small forward.
Yes.
Power forward, because he's big
But
enough.
remember, you said
now
they don't have
but you're losing
positions anymore.
But now you're losing Isaiah Stewart. Isaiah Stewart just got arrested. Okay, so you're losing him because he got into an altercation. He got into an altercation outside the court, so they arrested him already. Okay, and he's a hothead anyway. That's the young man that got his head split open from LeBron on the free throw. All right. So
Why you call him a hothead?
because his emotions take over too quickly.
Did you call Mahorn a hothead?
I did. I called him that in his
Did
face
you call
too.
Dennis Rodman a hothead?
I called him a weirdo when I first met him. I was like, dude, you're a weirdo,
Yeah.
right? Because he weird.
I just thought Isaiah Stewart brought that
He brings-
80s, 90s
Yeah,
flavor.
I give you that. He
to
give you
game.
the
Very
he's-
competitive.
He is. He a big, strong kid, right? But I'm gonna tell you like I told him, bruh, your emotions gonna get you kicked out the league. You're not gonna make it playing this way. You're gonna have to double back. You're gonna have to say to yourself, look here, man, don't take everything so personal. Just play basketball. They'll get you the ball. You're big and strong. You're like a big Ben Wallace. You're more even cut than Ben Wallace was.
Well,
But-
let me throw this at you both. Let me throw this at, since I got two, basketball aficionados.
No, I'm just.
I just like basketball.
So
I can play football too. I play
let,
football.
let me throw the scenario at both of you. If you
let's
had
move
to
on.
look at,
Get yourself in trouble.
if you had to look at a Mount Rushmore,
Oh, Lord.
Here we go.
and if you had to look at a Mount Rushmore, and you had to put the 4 best players on Mount Rushmore,
4 or 5.
it's only four people up there on
Oh,
Mount
that's
Rushmore.
unfair, right, Keith?
If you had 4,
Well, that's
who would those 4 be? And I'm gonna go to you, Keith, first. Who would those 4 be?
That's for me. That's impossible because I believe in this. What league has been there 77 years now. How do you get 4 out of probably about I don't know how many thousands of players. It's hard.
Yeah.
Well, based on the fact that I've been watching it, about 62 years. So what I saw was Wilt Chamberlain. What I saw was Bill Russell. What I saw was Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson.
That's his phone. Okay.
So you picked those four. You picked two centers. You picked a guard and another guard. But the thing that you said earlier, gentlemen, when you talk about how it kind of revolutionized, Magic was 6'9", Michael Jordan was what, 6'6"?
6'6".
And they brought the ball down, compared
Oscar
to
did
like
too.
Oscar Robinson did, right?
You skipped Oscar.
And that was the thing in terms of say that here, most of the guards, when I was playing ball, were like 6'6". I'm not sorry, 6'1", 6'2". The prototype. Because when I asked you both, like, who was the prototype guard?
That was Walt Frazier type people.
Okay,
Yeah,
Walt Frazier type.
About 6'4", 6'5" was like that era that was starting to be changing. Like no more of the tiny Archibald,
Right.
no more of the Isaiah Thomas,
One-
the John Stockton kind of guy, Kevin Johnson.
George Gervin was before his time because he
He
was
was.
positionless too.
He was.
But Michael Ray Richardson
You bring up
was
all
the
of them.
first true big point guard because he was 6'5".
Correct.
And he was before Magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, but he back in them days though, that was heroin, alcohol.
Now we don't want to go there, man.
I mean, let's
Well,
be
so let
honest,
me
truth about it.
let me bail you back out again, Ishmael.
I'm
Let me
just saying.
let me put the
We're going to have
let
to enter a witness protection program.
right.
I'm just saying all
So
of this.
Ishmael, okay. So now, if you had to look at
Oh,
your Mount Rushmore, who would your four players be?
shoot. Well, I'm 52, so I'm I haven't got where Big Homie is and yourself. But I've looked at the tapes and I've been around long enough to know. So my four would be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Ooh, damn, that's really tough. You only get four, right?
Only four.
I know you went to Northwestern, but it's a difference in 4 and 5.
You know what? Backwards is 1. Forward is 9. Okay. So I did get some of an education out of DPS. Okay. Kareem, Magic, Michael, LeBron.
See, Michael would have been my 5th.
Michael would have been my 7th. Michael Jordan would have been my 7th player.
So
Because there was better players even in his generation that was way better than he was. And they just, but because of branding, and they was trying to expand the league, they named Michael Jordan as the god.
And if Ice had played in this generation, ooh, George Gervin in this.
But see, then I don't even do that when I go to barbershops and they be like, if you put this player in this era here, what would happen? You know what would happen? First of all, Michael Jordan would have found out that it's a LeBron James, a Kobe Bryant, a Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter. Everybody had a 40-something inch vertical.
I don't
Everybody
think that
had
would
a
have bothered
50-something.
Michael. The thing that bothered Michael was the hand checking, the
I don't even think
forearm
that.
checking.
I think he got used to that.
Yeah, but he still had to go through that.
Oh yeah,
The
but-
players nowadays don't even have to.
Well, that's because they took it out the game.
Exactly.
Because it was slowing the game down.
Exactly.
So if you put the same rules in right now, elbow out like we used to play,
Yeah.
up towards the hip, and you can't go no higher up to the rib cage.
Yep.
And you can't extend out.
Exactly.
Players would still be producing the same way.
But George would have been
But
averaging 45.
they wasn't building them players like that anyway. Because let's call it what it is. Dirk Nowitzki, I'm gonna go Deathless Shrimp. I'm gonna go all your foreign kids, right? That came into the league. They couldn't play with that. Those guys was getting stopped all the time. Those guys was getting blocked all the time,
let me
knocked
ask
to
you a
the
question.
floor, and then all of a sudden now they built the league for the Europeans, and now they saying the Europeans are catching up to the
Let
league.
me ask y'all a question.
Please.
So did they do that to make the game more easier for white players?
They did. They did. Because you only had about 4 or 5 white players on each team anyway back in my day. And then you looked at them like, man, you really can't play, dude. I don't even know why you on here. Why you here? Why? Oh, because you the coach's kid. Or you assistant coach's kid who knew somebody to put you on this team.
I know back in the 70s and well, even before then, but the 70s and 80s when I knew a lot of the pro coaches and scouts, there was a unwritten quota system.
Yeah, it was.
You could not have a roster full of people that had our melody. You had to have a certain numbers, even on the college level.
Correct.
When I was a college basketball coach, and my top 8 or 9 players were African American, I was told, now you know you can't have 5 black stars. I'm like, what do you want to do? And so the story is, and anybody can check with him, as we were going back to college, Tony Fuller, who was an All-Stater, went on to play with the Lakers, went on to make All-American at Vincennes Junior College in Pepperdine, called me because he had signed with Eastern Michigan, and he didn't want to go because Jim Boyce was there. He got basketball. So he called me, he said, Ben, Coach, I want to come play with y'all. Can I come play with y'all? So I said, well, love it. So I hung the phone. I had to go talk to the athletic director. And he said, well, Keith, how good of a player? I said, he's going to be the best player on our team. And we had Michael Gray, who was setback.
Oh, my God.
Was just All-American on junior college and big college. And I said, well, he's better than, and they called him Fly. I said, he's better than Fly. He is. I said, yeah. He said, so who would be your starters? And so when I named, he said, well, that's all black guys. I said, well, I'm not going to put the guys that have paid their dues on the bench. And so I had to call Tony back and say, man, bro, I can't take you on the roster. What do you mean?
Man.
I said, it will give us 5, and I'm not going to ask you to come off the bench. I'm not going to do that. My relationship with you and the type of player you are, I'm not going to ask you to do that. And so he went to Vincennes Junior College. And we played them. He told us in the warm-up line, he said,
I'm going to whoop you.
Coach, Ben, I love you, man. I love you. I'm going to light it up. He hit us for 42. So I'm sitting there, and I'm looking at the athletic director, and I'm like, told you.
So I went to Alabama State in 91. I came right out of Northwestern and went off there. And so black college was the thing to do, to play ball, right? So I had Steve Rogers out of Alabama. He was playing with me, but he was garbage. I'm laughing at that dude like, man, you going where? And he was like, he got picked up by Boston right when I made my decision to leave. So I was done playing. I was just like, I'm about to just work. I'm just about to figure this out. So it was a homeboy of mine who I used to play pickup ball with. We travel all over the place to go play ball. He was like, man, why you going to waste all this talent and you just going to go home? I was like, man, because there ain't nothing else to do, man. I'm about to just work and do what I got to do. He was like, you should go to OCC. And I was like, OCC, where's that? He was like, Oakland Community College.
Was Lynn Cole out there then?
Yeah. And so Murphy, all of them guys was out there, and they was like, "You, Ishmael, you need to come and play a pickup game." So I was just like, okay. So I came out to play a pickup game. I'm smacking the backboard. I'm doing my dunks. I'm doing all of that stuff. Jump shots after jump shots. So this little white dude comes out of the nowhere and was like, well, your guy said that you wanted to play basketball over here. I said, I didn't say that. I'm just coming to play pickup. He was like, no, we're going to get you on the team. He said, but I can't put you on the team right now because we're already full. He was like, but we can put you on JV. I was like, bro, I was all city and all of that, man. What are you talking about? I'm not doing that. So he was like, well, trust me, if you do this, you're going to be a heck of a player. So I just listened, and then I was playing for OCC, and that led me to Eastern Michigan.
Well, we're about to take a break, but when we come back from break, I'm going to give you two a heads up. My next question I'm asking, when we come back from break, is that same scenario I asked you about with the 4 players on Mount Rushmore. I want to ask you to put the 4 coaches that you would put on Mount Rushmore as well.
From what?
What
Could
bracket?
be from
Pro, college, high school?
I'll let you go any route you want to take.
Oh wow!
So
That's
you
interesting.
combine.
I got a whole bunch.
Whoa.
You can combine that. But now
Can I
4.
put myself? No, I'm just.
If you want to put yourself on there, you can put yourself. But we're taking a break. You're watching Truth to Power. My special guest, Mr. Ishmael Terry, Mr. Keith Bennett. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and stay tuned. We'll be right back.
In the world of digital broadcasting, transmitters and exciters sometimes do this. If this happens when you're watching WHPR TV 33, please do this. Watch us on Fire Stick, Roku, Apple TV, Google TV, or TV33WHPR.com. Download the WHPR TV app, and we can also be heard on Amazon Echo. So remember, if you see this, you can do this and support the station that supports you.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabria, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Tune in to the I Love the Hustle show, Saturday afternoons at 12 p.m., followed by Mr. Smooth's Ballroom and Steppers Express Dance Show on WHPR 15.2 Detroit, Apple TV, Roku, and many streaming platforms. See you Saturday.
WGPR Detroit HD2.
You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
You are watching Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, with my special guest today, Mr. Ishmael Terry and Mr. Keith Bennett. But before we went to break, I had asked these astute gentlemen about who they would put on Mount Rushmore in a coaching capacity. So who are their 4 top coaches? And I was giving them a little bit of leeway to say it could be either high school, college, or professional. So I'll go to you, Ishmael, first this time.
Man, he's become he brought us on here to integrity.
I know that's what it is. Trying to pull some stuff out that we
This
you know,
was a
wasn't-
setup.
Yeah,
This
this
was a
was. Because now there's going to be some people mad as heck at this one. Oh, God. All right, my top 4. John Thompson out of Georgetown. Lou Carasucco from St. John.
See, Keith, I gave you a little time because I'm giving you more time to think about who your 4 would be.
man.
And I can see that.
Appreciate it.
I can see that look, like that pencil look like, okay, Ishmael's struggling with this, but I'm not going to struggle as
John
much as
Thompson,
Ishmael.
Lou.
I'm trying to figure out, is he staying in the college? And that's going to help me, because I'll stay away from college if he's staying in the college ranks.
Okay, I stay in college, right?
Okay.
I stay in. Pat Summerall. I mean, not Pat Summerall. That's the announcer guy. Pat from Tennessee, the women's basketball coach.
Oh,
What's her last name? Dang, I forgot her last name.
But we're staying with men.
Oh, you said coaching.
But we're gonna stay with men.
Oh, okay. Now you being discriminating. You being discriminating.
We can do the women too,
gonna have a
but
picking.
we
Yeah,
gonna have
We're gonna
just
have
like Mount Rushmore has men up on there.
Okay.
Just like when
Okay.
you were naming the players,
Okay.
you didn't
Okay.
name you didn't
Okay.
name any female players.
No,
You named
pass
all
up.
men.
Yeah, pass up. Okay, so not her. Okay, we take her off. Okay, so Gino from Connecticut, the women's team, but he's the head coach. He's the head coach.
He's still a male. He's still a male
Still
coach.
male. Okay, so Lou, Gino. My fourth one, I'm gonna stay in college.
Oh, I can't believe. Well, you come from a different era, though.
Man.
I mean, because I'm surprised that none of y'all are mentioning like
Mike
who?
Krzyzewski.
I was just about to say Mike
Okay,
Krzyzewski.
so Mike
I'm
Krzyzewski.
surprised he didn't include my man,
I was gonna say
John
Dean.
Wooden.
Yeah, there's another one, right? With
I could've went
UCLA.
Dean Smith,
Yeah,
but I didn't go Dean
yeah,
Smith.
that's true.
I could have went Larry Brown.
Yeah, and you left my man, Lefty
could've-
Drysdale off.
What's his name? Dick Vitale. Yeah,
Yeah.
could have put him in there.
Nolan
And you,
Richardson.
and you
Nolan
also,
Rich- I could have put Arkansas's own.
and you also could have
Timmy
put.
Crump.
Come on.
I mean, you
I mean,
also Bob Knight. I mean,
No,
He too busy
Al
choking people.
McGuire.
He too busy
Al
choking.
McGuire, right.
It's like a little bit past.
I know we in different eras. That's the good
Okay.
thing about this conversation. We're from different eras.
But
So-
I would say
So who are your four? Name your four again.
I'm gonna stick with my four. John Thompson out of Georgetown, Lou Conosecco out of St. John, Gino out of Connecticut.
Ariami, I think that's how you
I
say
forgot
it.
to pronounce
Yeah.
it.
With
I
Connecticut.
don't want to
Right.
punch you.
And who did I say that last guy was? Gino. Dang.
Well, just pick another person if you can't remember
Okay.
the person that you said before.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go Dean Smith. I'm
Okay,
gonna go Dean Smith because he a legend. He has
that's
all.
North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Keith Bennett.
I say college too.
I'm gonna go NBA.
Okay. Good luck. Oh, I'm sorry.
Lenny Wilkins.
Okay,
He just passed. Al Adams.
Okay.
Pop.
Greg Popovich. Okay.
down in San Antonio.
I'm gonna go with Daddy Rich.
Oh my God, Chuck Daly.
Chuck Daly.
All right.
Okay.
We got one more to go.
No, he did four. He
Who
did four.
You said?
I said
He
Chuck.
just named four.
Oh, you did say Al.
You said Al Adams.
Pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Lenny Wilkins.
And Lenny Wilkins.
And I'm gonna give you a bonus one. Who would be your fifth if you had to put if
Oh,
you
you
had to
didn't
start
give me a
anew?
fifth,
I'm
but-
about to reverse it back and come back to you, young man. But I got to go with Keith Bennett. This is the
Okay.
OG in the room, so
Gotcha.
you know.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
Keith, who would your other person be if you had to start another Mount Rushmore? Who would that fifth coach be?
And the pros.
Because I'm gonna tell you who mine would be. Mine, I would have to go with. Why is his name escaping me? That coached Michael Jordan with Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
and then he also coached Kobe.
Phil Jackson.
Come on, man.
Phil Jackson.
Come on, man.
Okay. Well, I mean, that could be
I'm
the
with you
debate
on
right
that.
there.
No.
That could be the debate. But I mean, look at all of the coaching rings that he got coaching these
I would,
players.
be, I would be able to coach that team too if I put a super team together.
Scottie Pippen.
Come on, man. Ron
Shaq.
Harper was Michael Jordan's defender.
Yes.
Ron Harper was locking up Michael Jordan back in the days when he was playing for Cleveland.
Okay.
And that's what that Greg Elo placed on Michael. That's the shot that y'all be like, oh my God, because Ron Harper was locking him up. And then they was like, the coach was like this. Mike Fratello was like, no, we're going to take you off of him, Ron, and we're going to put Greg Elo on you. And because Greg Elo's a better defender, and what happened?
Well,
He
one of
shot
my
around the
favorite
world in the
was
playoffs.
The fifth may have not been the best in a lot of people, but he was my favorite. Billy Cunningham was a hell of a coach.
Oh, he was.
Philadelphia.
He was decent.
He was a hell of a coach.
Yeah.
Okay. So all right, Ishmael, I'll give you same opportunity, who would be your fifth?
What's that boy's name? I'll give it to John Wooden. That would be my fifth. John Wooden. He had it from top to bottom. Luell Sunday.
I mean, there were a
I
lot
mean, he had
of
a whole
the
bunch of
players
guys.
that played for UCLA
Yeah,
had much respect.
they
for
did.
him.
And
You know?
But they
other
like-
players that didn't play for UCLA.
I was just about to say that, Keith.
But think about this too. Players that came out of Duke and players that came out of UCLA did okay. They did great in college. But only a handful did great in the pros.
What are you talking about? UCLA?
Yeah, they have a lot of guys that didn't. I said sprinkle. I didn't say
Jamal Wilkes?
sprinkle. Cornbread and Earl was
Gail Goodrich?
sprinkle.
Bill Walton?
He naming some good
Sprinkle.
players, Ishmael, that
Sprinkle.
wound up winning championships.
Kareem
Sprinkle.
Abdul-Jabbar?
I said sprinkle. I said sprinkle. They like Duke. They produce great college players, but they don't produce great pro players.
So what team then would you say, Ishmael, in that analogy,
Yeah.
that did produce great, as you say, high school, I'm sorry, great,
College to pro,
right, great pro,
North
pro players.
Carolina, they produce a lot of pro players.
Maryland.
Maryland did as well. I'll give you that one.
Late in the game, Vegas.
Yeah, UNLV came a lot later though. Michigan, they did. Michigan State,
Michigan State.
they did.
What about Kansas?
Kansas,
Yes.
yep. Kansas, I give you that. Georgia,
Okay.
Georgetown.
Georgetown, right, that's definitely
yeah.
one.
And remember, he was on my top Rushmore.
I know
He
Thompson.
was my number
I know
one pick,
Thompson.
John Thompson.
Mhm.
So yeah, I said this though. UCLA was better in filtering in players from high school to college to the pros than Duke. Duke was so busy trying to get the upscale player that they forgot you need some of them hood rich dudes to come up in there and play with you.
'Cause,
right?
you know-
because UNLV wasn't supposed to blow them out like they did in that final, right?
Well,
Michigan
well-
wasn't supposed to handle them like that twice. Okay, twice. But because you don't want to go get inner city kids, a lot of them, this is the chance you take back in them days in the 80s and 90s. You took a chance when you didn't get those inner city kids because some of them might be a diamond in the rough, but when they polish, boy, phew, oh my goodness, they giving you 20-something, 30-something. Think about it. If Lynn Bias didn't have the heart attack from taking the cocaine, raw cocaine, he'd better than Michael Jordan.
He's right up there with him. I don't know.
He better than Michael Jordan.
Well,
At 6'10", 6'11",
He's
he
right up
was
there.
giving Mike and them at
He wasn't no
UCLA.
6'11". Man,
He
was
was
6'9".
Yeah, he wasn't no 6'9". You know he was taller than that. He was taller than that. And giving Mike in the UNC the business when he was playing for Maryland.
But you know, there's been so many, and I'm thinking back to what you just said, Ishmael, about the college to pros.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the same thing, you know, and it's so interesting how you mentioned about the Phi Sigma Jammers, you know,
Oh,
with
man, I
Houston.
forgot all about
Because I
Phi
thought
Sigma.
about them, you know, that took a lot of players. With,
Yeah.
You know, you talking about Elijah Wan and,
Right.
you know, some
Clyde
good players
Drexler.
that played.
Michael
with-
Wood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know.
But how do you forget about them, though?
Because I keep telling you, I said that earlier. When you have had all these years that we have seen
Right,
the game,
right.
it's a shorter window than the guys now that are in their 30s and 20s,
True.
even 40s, seen the game. We've seen a lot of.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of basketball.
We've seen a lot of basketball.
And, you know, you see a lot of coaches
Yeah.
that were just as popular as the team.
Well,
Players
more
were.
popular at one time.
Because Calipari
Exactly.
is
Exactly.
Calipari is a one and done coach. But I would send my kid, if my son would have played basketball, followed in my footsteps, and played basketball, I would have sent him to Kentucky. Because I know he guaranteed to go to the pros. I know for a fact he going to the pros. Because if he averaged 17.9 a game, right, he get roughly about 10 assists a game, 10.2 a game, and he has 4.9 steals.
But now,
Coming out of Kentucky,
now you can go to the pros,
the pros.
and be drafted. You only have to average 5 points a game.
That's it. That's it.
That's true.
That's because everybody play the same though. It's like a robotic game now. Everybody is 6'5" and up, right? Everybody dribble the same. Everybody do the hezzy the same. Everybody do the
So,
crossover the same.
I used to know a lot of the pro scouts first name basis.
Right.
And so one of my favorites was Jocko Collins from Philadelphia.
Okay.
So he used to tell me, he said, Keith, they got to have 5. It's 5 skills. They got to have 3 of them to even think they're going to make the roster. And now I look at kids, they can have 1 or 2, and they're almost starters.
Yeah. And most of these guys today that play now will be on the bench.
Because we were,
back in the day.
when Terry Tyler was a
Oh my God.
senior, so we were
Yeah.
trying to figure out. And so I was sitting with him in the stands one day, and I'm like, "So is T gonna make it?"
Mm.
He said, "Well, he's got 4 of the tools." He said he can run like a deer.
Mm-hmm.
He can jump.
Mm-hmm.
He plays defense,
Mhm.
and he rebound and block shots. He said that 5th one ain't gonna make no difference.
No, the scoring, they didn't need him for that.
He coming in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's so funny is, and I'm sorry for interrupting, is when, as a kid growing up under this guy, him and John Long and all of those guys who are my godparents and all of that, growing up under them was HE hockey sticks, because you had to be measured to those guys, right? It wasn't like, oh, well, I'm a nephew to Keith Bennett, so Keith is a legend here. So I, in the 80s and 90s, had to live up to that. You don't have that in this generation of basketball players, even football players. They don't have nobody you got to measure them up to, right? So it's hard to say who the best now, because there's no one like us in front of them, right? The only one they can measure to is LeBron James.
Well, one of the things the young people nowadays, and I don't like
Steph Curry.
I don't like to sound like I'm criticizing, but the young people nowadays don't like accountability,
No.
and so they will not allow themselves to be measured to what they consider an older person or old player or anything. They'll do it to the pros,
Right.
but as far as on the college level or other high, they're not going to allow you to measure them against.
No.
Why do you say that?
They don't want that accountability.
No.
They don't believe in it.
It's hard to live up to that expectation.
Yeah.
Think about it. If you got Kobe Bryant and LeBron James, it's easy to live up to them, because all you got to do is pitch, catch, shoot. That's it.
See,
And-
when St. Cecilia was in its heyday, we used
Oh,
to.
man.
So you would have a Terry Tyler, a
Yeah.
John Long, you have a Cyrus Mann,
Yeah.
you would have a Greg Kelso, Allen Hardy. You would have these all-stars in the gym every day. And so the young people,
Yeah.
like they had to sit in the stands
Oh.
from 8 to 9, 10 and watch them
Mm-hmm.
for years and watch their games, watch their mannerisms and stuff. And so when they came into high school, there was a standard that they would expect to keep, because you've seen these guys.
Right.
The young guys now play video games. That's what they watching.
Mm-hmm.
They watching the pros and trying to emulate things of that nature. They refuse to be taught by anybody that's really older than them.
True.
They refuse.
And
to do
and most of the people, and most of my generation watch Come Fly With Me, all of those videos, right? The old VHS tapes of
and that's
Michael
not
Jordan.
always their fault.
But we just picked up pieces and then added it to what we can already naturally do.
Because when I was at St. Cecilia's, we used to travel with teams. So we would take a team to New York. We would take 4 teams to New York, and we would play in each borough
Yeah.
all summer. So
I remember
we would
that.
have a team of freshmen in high school, juniors, and then sophomores, juniors, and then the high school guys that either had graduated or were getting ready to graduate.
Yeah.
So the other guys who were traveling with us, because I coached every team at certain times, they had to watch the older guys go out there and play, and they were winning. And so when they hit the floor, they knew they had to set that standard. We got to win. We got to play defense.
Man, you gonna
we
get
got to play
dogged.
team, or we got to ride back to Detroit.
You're going to get dogged so bad.
These guys, they knew that.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and one thing I was going to ask you both too is that we talk about, I think you mentioned, Keith, about the game being entertaining. And now there's a lot of talk now too about the possibility of putting the adventing putting a 4-point shot into the game. What's your thoughts on that?
Video game.
Yeah, they'll do that. The purity of the game, leave it alone. Play the game. Don't let money dictate to how the game is to be played, because you're taking away from the natural nature of it. Because now you're taking, and what we say again, positionless players. You're starting to say, okay, you know what? Basketball is a great ball to put in the basket. Thank you for making the peach basket and all of those great nostalgia. But now, we're now more conglomerates. We're now more towards that.
I
We're
don't
not
want
looking
to
at
not
basketball.
change, because change is going to happen. It always does.
You might as well be the big
So
three.
what I see when they talk about the four, then you go into pure entertainment. You're taking the competitiveness out of the game, period. And I look at that at sports as a whole, because some of the sports is in the Olympics now, winter and summer.
Mm-hmm.
When you have breakdancing in the Olympics.
Oh, come on, man. That's so crazy.
I mean,
That's so crazy. You want to be black so bad?
Oh.
Let's be honest. Come on, you just said it about the white player. Let's be honest. You want to be black so bad that you're going to put breakdancing inside the
tell you
Olympics.
one sport that
And then
haven't
you're going to
changed.
have the nerve to have the white lady from Australia looking like a fool.
Here's
out
one
there.
sport they haven't changed, because they dominate. Golf. But anything that we dominate,
We got to
It's gotta be
change it up.
changed.
We got to evolve. It ain't the same like it used to be.
Yeah.
So we got, look, you might as well just had a big three. You might as well had a big three with Cube and them team, right? Because they got the 4-point shooting,
know.
Yeah.
right? So how ironic is that? Okay, so all the old players, the guys that's getting grades and all of that, go to the big three in your retirement package.
that's
right?
good for them.
And then have the younger players play in the NBA.
Well, see, I have a lot of white friends. I have white associates, and I have conversations with a lot of white people who are just sports fans. And I lure them into conversations where they tell me the truth. And they don't like the NBA. And what they really try to figure out is how to tell me they don't like it without saying, I don't like the antics, I don't like how they dress, I don't like the mannerisms, you know, when they grab and they crouch and all of that. I don't like it, seem disrespectful. I get that. I don't really like it either. But you want to stop watching the game or you want to change it. That's not going to take competitive. These guys, they play hard. And just like Angel Reese said about Caitlin Clark, who I knew was going to evolve into a good player. But when she runs into a dog,
She all flopping to the floor.
Yeah, and
Oh
so
my God, this hurt.
that's,
Oh my
that's a
Jesus.
natural instinct of a African American or a player that has played maybe in the Dominican or something. That's their natural way they play. They're
Right.
competitive. That's their natural sport.
Well, let's change gear for a quick minute, because I know, Keith, that you have to leave soon. But we're involved in terms of, say, with the Building Black Brick Masters. And I know we've got a Politics 2.0 that's coming up next month. Keith, I'll let you just, before we take break, just let you address that. October the 5th, over at the Shrine of the Black Madonna. But just talk about that a little bit, about, the concept of what happened with 1.0 and now we're, going into 2.0. And what do you see in terms of, say, the evolution of Building Black Brick Masters into now going into 2.0?
So first, let me describe real quickly what Building Black Brick Masters is. It is a cross-generational men's group. Just like we've sat here and had discussions with actually 2 generations that's in the room, we're not having those discussions across our community with multiple cross-generations. So that's what Building Black Brick Masters is. We have baby boomers, we have Gen X's, we have millennials, and Gen Z's that we meet, we talk, we discuss, we plan, we debate, we argue, all in good faith. We don't have to agree, no egos at the table, and we're doing things in the community. We're having community conversations that let people see that we can have these conversations. So on June the 8th, over at the Ford Gymnasium in Highland Park, we had, is it Politics or Politricks? And the reason being was one of our brick masters, we got into a heated discussion at a meeting we were having one night because he brought up that he was all pro Donald Trump and he didn't understand why we were voting the other direction and Trump gave him money and all that. And that meeting, you would have thought we were getting ready to brawl in that meeting, but it was all in good nature. And when we ended the meeting, we told him, you got to vote your heart and you got to vote the way you see things. But you've been bamboozled and you don't know what you don't know. And so out of that, we decided to bring the community together and have a discussion because young people say they play politics. It's not politics. And so we had a great crowd, a lot of young men, a lot of black young men who stood up and told us how they felt. And they educated us. We educated them. And so that was before, a lot of them were not pro-Biden. They voiced that. They felt he was too old. And so now we're going to bring everybody back together and add some more people to the conversation since Project 25 has come up.
Oh, geez.
And now we have a female who happens to be an African-American running in Biden's place. And so we want to ask the young people, is it still politics or is it politics? We're going to break Project 25 down. We're going to do actually an autopsy on Project 25, and we're going to read parts of it as a community. And then we're going to dissect it and question, answer, and let young people speak to what they don't know, and we listen to them, and we fill in their gaps. And so it wasn't where we were trying to tell them who to vote for, what party to vote for. We wanted to hear what did they feel about in the voting process, what do they feel about the candidates, what do they feel about the branches of government, which a lot of them didn't know. There were 3 branches of government. A lot of them did know. And so what we need to do as a community is start filling the gaps in for our young people by listening before elections come up. Because they told us, you guys want to talk to us now, but where were you? Because it's not being taught in school.
Right.
It's not being taught in homes.
Right.
It's not being taught. Now you want to talk to us about how we should vote in this election time. So come out on Saturday, October the 5th, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Now, 3 hours sound like a long time. It's not. When you're talking and you're enjoying the conversation, we're going to have food trucks outside. So if you want to skip out and get you something to eat and come back in at the Shrine of the Black Madonna, which is the birthplace of black political movements. So we're going back home under Bishop Chewy, and Bayou Chewy over there. It's free, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, Linwood Avenue at Hogarth, Shrine of the Black Madonna, October the 5th. Is it politics or politics? So if you think it's politics, you need to be in the room and explain to people the tricks that are being played on them.
And can I chime in on one thing, please? Because
Go
I
ahead.
hope that helps. I hope what I'm about to say helps start this. And please take it as me knowing
Okay.
and me saying what's
Well, I
going
know
on.
you. I know.
First of all, Kamala Harris is not black. Stop saying it. She's not black. She is Asian, and she's Jamaican.
You know where I get that from, though? Because we were told when we were growing up, you got one
ounce of black
of
blood,
non-white
right?
blood. You black.
Right. So let's kill that noise,
Yeah.
right? Because she's not black. She don't claim to be black. She claimed to be Asian
Right.
and Pacific. She doesn't claim to be a black woman. Okay. We because of her manila and her skin, we just automatically
And
assume
the
it. And then
HBCU connection.
HBCU and the 9 and all of that, it's all playing this role, right? Let's just get out of that. You first tell the young people to join in to the Democratic Party, but you forced your leader out because he had a stumble in the debate. So because he had a stumble in the debate, he was like, "Oh, we got to kick him out, and we can't find nobody. We can't put Galvin in right away, because really, when Biden was on GMA and all of that, he was saying that Galvin was his predecessor."
Well, that was the thing, and we
So
got to take a break.
Okay.
But that was the thing that now we were riding with Biden.
Yeah.
Now we're rolling with Kamala.
That's crazy,
So,
though.
Why is that crazy?
That's crazy because
But-
no-
but let's-
we
let's-
just got
let's
to
put
talking
a-
about.
we-
Hold on. We just got to talking about sports, right?
right
What's the goal of sports?
to win.
That's all I got to say.
Right. I
On
think-
that point,
but-
Ishmael,
Okay,
let's take a
okay.
break.
Yeah,
Let's
we
take a
gonna
break. And when we come back, we can, kind of conclude that discussion.
Right.
You've been watching Truth to Power, sponsored by, in terms of say, by right now, I've got special guests, Keith Bennett, Ishmael Terry, and we look forward to having you join us when we come back from break.
Have you ever wanted your own TV show? Have you dreamed of showcasing your talent for the world to see? Well, now you can. Have your own TV show. You can have your own 30-minute show. Not only will you be seen in the Detroit area, but you can be viewed worldwide. For more information, call 313-868-6612. Visit our studios and receive a free TV interview to promote your business, church, or organization by appointment only.
Claudine Jackson thought she had it all until she was faced with the challenges of raising an autistic child. Inspired by autism is her brutally honest journey filled with heartbreak and triumph. Get your copy and find the support you deserve today by visiting www.claudinejackson.tv.
In the world of digital broadcasting, transmitters and exciters sometimes do this. If this happens when you're watching WHPR TV 33, please do this. Watch us on Fire Stick, Roku, Apple TV, Google TV, or TV33WHPR.com. Download the WHPR TV app, and we can also be heard on Amazon Echo. So remember, if you see this, you can do this and support the station that supports you.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabria, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Before we went to break, one of the things that Keith said before we went to break, and it was kind of important, that when he said that, Keith Bennett, Ishmael Terry, what's up, Darwin Griffin, that Keith said, in essence, pretty much like what one of the coaches said, in football, you play the game to win. And that's what it boils down to. So it's like here, you are in this race to win it. And you put candidates, I know Ishmael, Keith, I'm preaching to the choir. You put candidates in the race that can win. You're not putting candidates in the race that are just going to make a good showing. You're putting candidates in the race that can win. And right now, as we were saying, you're looking at right now putting your, it's like when you're talking about coaching, you put your best five out.
Right.
If you're playing basketball. You put your best team out there to play against their team.
Right.
And then you also mix strategies in terms of, say, about if you need a best five offensive players,
Right.
best five defensive players. So it depends on what they, because that's why a lot of times the coaches look to see, and they call timeouts, because they want to see who somebody's going to send back out on the field or on the on the floor to play. So that's important right there to be able to kind of do, it's like that chess match, trying to see, and it's the X and O's when you want to see what's what. But Keith, I know you were mentioning about making certain that you put the best foot forward, and that's one of the things that the Democrats are looking at doing now in terms of, say, in putting Kamala Harris out there with Tim Walz, because they felt that was the best team that they could put against a Trump and J.D. Vance.
And they balanced it. I'll take the VPs first. Against Vance, they found somebody that could really counterbalance him. It was almost the opposite of him.
Okay.
So when you say the opposite, to kind of explain what you mean when you say to balance him.
I mean, when you look at Walz's background, and he has some rural in his background, some suburban in his background.
Mm-hmm.
He has some education and teaching in his background. He has some military in his background.
He has some coaching in his background.
He has some coaching in his background. Well respected by young people, even though he's a seasoned man. And so when you look at Vance, Vance used to knock Trump a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Vance has said some remarks that have upset almost every corner of the country, from women need to have babies. He's taking shots at the military. You're not going to get any of that from Walz. He is what we say that this country is almost all about. You're all-American guy from the outside. We don't know his inside. We don't know. But when this country talks about the all-American guy, that's what he represents. And so that was a counterbalance. I'm not going to sit here and try to match wits with either you or Terry, because I know you guys know the political footprint. You're students of the game. I'm students of the black men that walk in this community on the ground. The ones that are invisible or don't have a voice. And so what they've been telling me for 40 years, but more recently in the last 5 years or 6 or 7, is that they need to start seeing candidates that have a more youthful flavor, that have a more youthful thought process, have a more youthful representation of them, to kind of came in the world or through the world during the era that they came through, so they can maybe empathize and identify, even if they from the rural, they can still empathize with the young kids. Even though Walz is coming from small town, he's dealt with young people, so I don't think Vance has dealt with young people like Walz. And so that was why I think they did that. But you two guys are the specialists. I'm just going to say that on October the 5th, we're not telling people to vote Republican or Democrat, as we did on our last one on June 8th. We want to know why you're not involved in the voting process. And that's what we get, is that we're not represented. We pay taxes. Yeah. Nobody looks like us. Nobody's even in our age brackets. Nobody comes and talks to us like Ismail Terry before the elections. They come in our classes because they're not teaching us, come into schools and tell us about the 3 branches of government and things. And so the community needs to hear this, and I think that's what you got to give Brickmasters credit for. We're putting people in the room together, multiple generations, so they can hear each other. And it's orderly. And what I had to tell Ismail to sit down and laugh and get it back in January.
I got it in my feelings.
Yeah.
I got my the younger generation, younger than me, say you got in your back. I felt like, being honest.
Go ahead.
I felt like that was the space for me to be who I am. Right? I felt safe. 34 years I've been in this
Nothing
game.
You said was wrong.
No. I know. I got it. No, and that's what I'm sharing with you, because I have you in front of me, and I have you in front of me about this. Right? To me, I felt like I was safe and I was at home.
You were.
So because of that, I had to share something that I felt like wasn't going to be used against me.
Okay.
You follow where I'm going? Because, when I'm in certain space or I'm in certain areas, as a politician, as a leader, I have to be careful with what I said, because now somebody's going to use that language against me, right? They're going to say how Ishmael Terry is this soft guy, or he got these issues, right? So why are we paying attention? I can't show that, right? But in that space, in that moment, in that time, I felt like, hey, I could share about my father.
Well, we
Right.
think that's the brand. Wouldn't you say, Darwin? That is what Brickmasters is branding. That it's a safe space for men to come in and be vulnerable.
I felt that way.
In the community.
I did.
But we
I
just
felt that.
need to make sure that when people leave, everybody got
Right,
time
that they
to
saying.
say
So
something.
that's why Mr. Terry is only gonna show up and go get 5 minutes of his FaceTime, because I'm gonna be like, I'm not here for me, I'm here for this, right? Because sometimes what I do find out, because I don't do a lot of interviews and I don't do a lot of things like this, is when I do come into place, people would forget about what you're there for, and they come and talk to me about things that I'm not there for that.
Okay.
Right? That's why I'm saying about, I'm not being full of myself. I'm just saying sometimes I take the air out the room, because everybody is coming to me about something different than what they coming in there, they were supposed to come in there for. So sometimes I just hide behind you guys and be like, I don't have nothing to say.
So Brickmasters, for those who don't know, is all about young guys. Now, we
Right.
got baby boomers, but we're setting the platform for them. And we are a 501c3 nonprofit, although we haven't asked for a dime. We're not asking for money. We just did the necessary steps. But it's really building a cross-generational platform we want to see around after we leave. So we have some young men who are millennials who came into the process saying, I don't vote, I haven't never voted, I don't care nothing about it, and whatever. And we have a text thread, and that same young man dropped on our line, man, since I've been running with y'all and hanging with y'all, I was in the barber shop, and the guys came in and they was talking about they don't vote, and they was talking all this lies. He said, I held shop in the barber shop,
Say
was
it.
teaching the young blood. I was spitting, told him where to Google and find the information there. He said, I thought I was one of y'all. so that's
so
just
how
because
do-
we've been having cross-generation conversations.
So let me ask you guys this, since you guys are ahead of generation before me. How do we tackle the 14 to 24% turnouts in these pollings?
We got to do it before we get close to polling.
Because that was what I was talking to you about, right? When I said, if you want me on your show, you got to remember that I'm going to tell the truth. We only had 24% of the turnout in the polling in this primary.
Here's the
That's
thing
why
that-
they're not talking about it.
Here's the thing that Darwin and I talk about when he always brings that up to me. I said, when the election ended, that's when it should have began. The education and the teaching and the recruitment and the selection process, when it ends, instead of criticizing, sitting there looking at that number, 14 to 18%,
Right.
it should have been doing something to challenge it now,
Right.
before now.
Because you're talking about you're going to do policies in January, or you're going to talk about policies in September, right? That's not benefiting the people in the urban community. It's not, okay? And let me be honest with you. The sanctuary cities that we have, Detroit, one of them, and Wayne County is part of it. You're going to end up being the fourth race, the fourth culture. Now, Dr. Claude Anderson has spoken on this too, and I talked to you about this. When you become the fourth culture, in the
You
fourth
don't have
race,
a voice.
you don't have a voice at all. You will be done.
But it's
right?
not just from voting. We don't even have families.
That's what I'm saying to you. So as you are building this nest egg of supporters, my generation and younger are going to play a role. If you have nothing at the table to discuss, why am I talking to you? You following me? But if your focus point is on the black female to make sure that she gets this and they get this and they get this, you're leaving out the black male. Now you're going to have a competitive nature. Let's talk basketball, because that's how it is. Now I'm competitive towards the black female. Now, the conservatives are going towards the black male.
Well,
They are. You see it. They're going towards the black male.
no,
They're
they're
saying
going toward ignorance.
but they're going towards black men. Let's just say it like it is. They're saying everything that black men want to do, we'll go with you on this. Just be counter to your black women. That's got to stop.
Well, see,
That's the part that's got to stop, because both systems are playing to our weakness, and we're playing to nothing.
And so you got to break that conversation down to young people where they make an understand. So here's what I've been having conversation. It is spiritual warfare that the black man and the black woman are fighting each other.
Yeah.
And what I share with them is, when we do that, who do you think wins? And they get this blank look on their face. I said, the fight promoter.
Right.
The fight promoter.
Right.
We don't win. We can't keep fighting our women. They can't keep fighting us. And so that's when, and Darwin is good for advocating this. He'll ask every event we have, are women included? Can they come? Yes, they can. But they need to see us collectively as men getting along where we're not competitive. We're not trying to outdress each other. We're not trying to do this. And so they need to see us in a different light across all age groups where they feel like, oh, okay, I know where they're going. I can see where they're trying to take this.
Right. Because to me, I think it's the damaging part in all of this, right? And I'm just going to be upfront. The DNC did something that I believe that was horrible. They took all of those immigrants that live in the city of Chicago. They overran. Me and my wife just left Chicago. You saw that on our posting. They had immigrants laying all over the place, all on the grounds, Keith. They just was living.
DNC did that?
Yeah. Well, DNC took them off the grounds, paid them the money, and had them hoteled.
Okay.
So then you wouldn't, when you came from other cities and other states to see that this sanctuary is not real. It's real. Because those people in Chicago was like, I'm not supporting this if you're doing this.
I don't think that's right, but Ismail, they did it in the city of Detroit when the Super Bowl was here.
Right.
They took all the homeless
people, they gave money and put them in those things.
Why do we holler? We be selective in hollering.
But that's what I'm saying. So this is the part where I always say I feel like I'm on an island by myself.
You are.
Because I'm going to speak up. I'm going to say things that don't make any sense, right? But then I have to have a payback on it. You get me? So it's like, okay, well, Ishmael, you supposed to be with us.
No, anytime you speak the
like,
truth, you're on an island by yourself.
Guaranteed, right? So I'll be like, well, if I feel that our own culture is not doing the right thing, I'm going to speak on it. If I feel like your culture is doing the wrong thing, I'm going to speak on it. So now I'm labeled as a troublemaker, right, for some, right? Even in my own colleagues up in Lansing, they're like, well, Ishmael, you're a bit too different than what we are.
See,
and I'll be like, but I'm not for that, right? Because I make my own money. I make my own decisions. I'm my own boss. I do my own thing. I'm not curtailed by somebody telling me what I have to do.
Here's how I was raised, and it doesn't mean it was right. Be truthful, be honest, you're integral. But don't do anything that's going to hurt your own people. There's a time to speak, and there's a time to be silent. The Bible teaches that too.
True that.
And so my thing is, social media over the last 10 years, we've hung all of our dirty laundry out for them to see on social media. So they're sitting there, and that's what they build their platforms on, is all of our dirty laundry. He knew that if he got Kwame out of prison, it would send a message to young black men.
True that.
He knew that.
Oh, yeah. Money runs everything.
He knew that.
If I gave you $1 million to get me out of prison, you about to get me out.
So we have to stop hanging our dirty laundry out. We need to have these kind of conversations. And we know they'll listen to the airwaves on our airwaves. But we still need to have these in the community. So that's what we do with Brickmasters. We're in a room with all men, and we have conversations for a couple of months. Then we roll it out to the community and say, come in. Let's talk about our dirty laundry, but we're not going to beat each other up on social media. I have never put anything that's big construed that would be detrimental to my people on social media.
And see, one of the key things that you say too, Keith, and I know you know this too, Ishmael, when you're talking to young people especially, you got to talk with them.
That's right.
And you just can't talk at them.
No. That's right.
And that's where sometimes we tend to fail at when we try and go and get our messaging across.
Yes.
And so the key thing is, it's just like I was having a conversation with somebody before I got into the station today. is that you want to give, especially a lot of young people, the impression that they came up with the answer themselves.
True.
All we did was give them the tools to come up with the answers. But it's like somebody, let's say, for example, like somebody smoking cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
You don't tell them don't smoke cigarettes.
Right.
You tell them all of the things that cigarettes can do to somebody.
True.
That can cause.
And how long it might take.
And how long it may take
Right.
before those things may kick into place.
True.
And that's the key thing that people don't really realize. Let the young people or let the people that are smoking feel like, you're right.
So
I do need to stop.
So
True.
my secret and I've said this on many radio shows and people ask me and other comments, my secret is I've listened to young people for 40 years.
Yes, sir.
I've been on Darwin's show, Truth to Power, a number of times, and I've told them, when you hear from me, you're hearing from what I've heard for 40 years or the last 5 years or last 2 years or
Right.
whatever, because I can't spend 40 years with young people, especially young black men, and not come back and report what I'm hearing.
True.
Now, that doesn't mean I always agree with it.
True.
That don't mean they're always right, but I want you to know how they feel.
True.
And so when people call me the OG now, they named me that. I didn't know what it even meant.
Oh, yeah.
These were young men was like, you need to change your social page and
So,
everything. You the OG. You the original
Yeah, you're the
OG.
original OG. Yeah.
Because you didn't listen to us.
Right.
You talking our language.
Right.
And so it's not put me on a higher level, but as Darwin said, that comes by listening. And what does the Bible say about listening?
I don't know.
Come on now.
I don't know. I can't tell you. I ain't gonna lie to you and tell you I know.
Well, y'all need to Google and do your homework.
Most definitely. But
What does the Bible say about listening?
I'm gonna just say this: as the third generation, right? We only respect those who respect themselves. If you do something to yourself, I respect you in what you do. I respect what you do, right? But 90% of the time, I'm not gonna put nobody on blast. But 90% of the time, when I'm in this city, when I'm at home, man, I don't feel like I'm at home. I ain't gonna lie to you. When I go to other cities and I travel a lot, I feel sick when I come back home
I've been there.
because I'm like, damn, I'm experiencing. You know that feeling, right?
Here's
I
what
mean,
I've
you're
heard.
in there, right? You experiencing something
Different.
it's like, man, when I was working in D.C., right? When I was working for that My Brother's Keeper and all of that stuff, man, every time I had to make a trip back home, I was like, man, I really don't want
What
to
I've
go.
heard around the country, all the years I've done it, was like, man, if you were here, you'd be huge.
Right.
Why you don't have this and this and this and this? I say, because, man, do you understand? You know, and you get invited out of town to come back. I've been invited to relocate and I've turned it down.
Right.
But it's something in our culture, and we talked about it. We talked about it before the show started. Why are we so competitive to a fault
Yeah.
with each other?
Because they're teaching you to distrust yourself.
Yes.
Now, I tell young people all the time in my schools, if you don't have any book in your home, you go get that Willie Lynch book.
Mm-hmm.
That Willie Lynch book is going to tell you how to keep a slave, even if it passed down generation to generation. And I tell them, get that Richard Wright Rich Boy book, because that's going to teach you how education is dismantled in the system that you call education for black people. And they be like, well, Mr. Terry, how you get so smart? I said, I read and I listen. Because those are two things that black people don't do well. And they play on that.
There you go.
You don't read and you don't listen.
The other thing we got to stop doing, I never in my 40 plus years of working with youth, young men, black men, older men, guys coming home from prison, jail, gangs and all that, I never tried to impress them.
Right.
So I was asked last Friday at the Health and Wealth Conference, how do you show up? I said, I show up like this all the time, like myself, my authentic self. And at some point, if I spend enough time with anyone, they're going to know he's just being himself.
That's it.
But we got into this thing now, we try to impress each other. And so that's what's so great about building Black Brick Masters. I mean, we got some dynamic people on that. And I don't think nobody is trying to impress the other. We know each other to a fault.
Right.
We know each other to a fault now.
And see, like you're both saying, the thing that a lot of people do is that they hear or they see things that happen.
Right.
But what we try and do as brick masters is to get people to process it up here first,
Right.
before it comes out of here
Yes.
or comes out of here.
Gotcha.
And that's where a lot of young people need to do more processing the information that they see and hear
Right.
before they go and react.
And if
to
you were
something.
sitting in there and you didn't know us in a room, you would think we were all jumping on maybe one person. And you could
Right.
say, oh, that young guy ain't going to take that. And that person would sit there.
And listen to
And you can see they're ready to talk, but they'll just sit there and they'll listen to all of us. They say, can I talk now?
Right.
And they'll tell us they feel.
But see, the thing is, too, and I'm going to leave with that because I know y'all about to be wrapping up. Sometimes when I call Keith, like I just call him randomly, right? Or I'll call you randomly, right?
He used to show up in my office randomly.
Yeah,
To
man,
point, I
I'll come
thought I
flip
was
the
gonna have
script.
Okay, we're gonna probably have to make this
Okay.
real short.
Real
'cause we
short.
got real short.
So I'm going to say this. I'm blessed. I am. I'm blessed. And I'm going to say why I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have been able to learn what to do and what not to do in life. I've been blessed to be able to be around real great men, and I've been around real bad men. But I have been blessed to be able to be around them. So I want to give you your flowers, if anything, right? That's why I'm here on this last side. I want to give y'all two your flowers because without you, there will not be an Ishmael Terry. Y'all both play a major role into what I do, right? And you may not see it, you may not hear it all the time, but I want to say thank you because without you, you are my fathers, right? You're my dad. So I want to say thank you for growing me as a man.
Wow.
So I want to say thank you.
Let me say this before we wrap up so you'll know. Take this back to your generation and the younger generation. And I said this last Friday at the conference. You don't know what you just did. You validate us.
Right.
Young men, we need you guys
Right.
to speak into our lives and validate us.
Right.
We also need you to pull us to a side when you see us doing something that's kind of
Oh, yeah,
off
I
the
do
wrong
that. Yeah.
and tell us. So we need each other. That's the whole message of Brickman. We do
Right.
need each other. So I appreciate that. I love you, but I knew it because I always look in your eyes when I see you. Every time
Right.
we always have eye-to-eye contact.
And
Right.
see, that's the thing. But we, gentlemen, we got to wrap.
We can be here
Ishmael,
all
love
day.
you. Keith, love you. Appreciate, tying
Love
all this
y'all,
together. You've been watching Truth to Power with my special guest today, Mr. Ishmael Terry, Mr. Keith Bennett. Have a great rest of the day and have a very, very safe and peaceful weekend.